Les interviews du doc, c'est maintenant sur Vinyl Time.
C'est avec un grand plaisir qu'on va vous partager une interview tout de suite. Alors, le groupe s'appelle Cross Country Driver. Alors, ça vous dit rien peut-être, sauf si vous allez sur le site Vinyl Time, vous allez voir la nouvelle vidéo. Elle est sortie il y a quelques instants. Elle est disponible. Vous allez voir, c'est du très bon. Il y a le morceau Shine qui vient d'être distribué avec des invités comme Mike Mangini, Chaisson et Jimmy Wallace. Et puis, on s'était dit que ça serait quand même très sympathique d'inviter le très grand Rob Lamothe pour parler de cet album. Oui, vous l'avez compris, on va parler de Cross Country Driver, le nouveau projet de notre ami Rob Lamothe qui est avec nous. Rob, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. It's a great pleasure to speak with you about Cross Country Driver at the beginning, because we have to speak a lot. This album is coming in 1 week now. We're just sharing today a new sounds we call Shine. Rob, congratulations for this first release of Cross Country Diver. What is your feeling 1 week before a new CD is coming?
I'm thank you for having me first of all, but yeah, I'm very pleased to get to this point, because when this project started, we were just going to write a couple of songs, James Harper and I. We weren't talking about making an album. So it's pretty amazing to now, 3 years later, be talking to you on the day that this Shine single is released, a week away from the album being released. So yeah, I'm just feeling very satisfied right now.
Voilà, les amis, vous l'avez compris. Alors, il est très content parce que, en fait, l'album, alors on va en parler un petit peu. Il a été écrit il y a un petit moment. Il est venu pendant la période du Covid. Il est venu, voilà, il a écrit. Et puis, il y a plein d'invités sur cet album. Alors, le groupe Cross Country Driver, il est autour, bien sûr, de Rob Lamothe qui est avec nous aujourd'hui. James Harper qui joue dans Fighting Friday et Zander qui est le noyau dur, en fait, du groupe. Et puis, il y a plein d'invités. On va poser la question à Rob pour savoir pourquoi il y a eu tant d'invités. Rob, you just speak, we pass maybe a lot of time to read, to prepare, to share the music and to create the new album. And you have a lot of guests on this release. It's crazy because each person who is coming on each song, it's at the right place. That's crazy.
Oh, well, thank you. And you know, what happened was, as we were developing the songs, we said, who would be great to have on bass on this song? You know, what other instrument would we want on this song? Do we want someone else to sing on this song with me? And that's how it started. So whether it was Vivian Campbell or Mike Mangini or Greg Chaisson or Doug Pinnick, we asked people and they said yes.
Bah voilà, vous l'avez compris. Alors, comme je le disais, c'est un super album. Alors, moi, j'ai adoré cet album. Et puis, il y a plein d'invités. Alors, je demandais à Rob, justement, comment il a fait ça. Bah, il a voulu le meilleur chanteur ou le meilleur batteur ou le meilleur bassiste. Alors, vous avez compris, on a Mike Mangini de Dream Theater, il y a Greg Chaisson de Badlands. Badlands, c'est quand même pas neutre. Doug Pinnick de King X. On a aussi Rhonda Smith de Jeff Beck, Jeff Wallace de Wallflowers. Il y a Keith Hicks d'Extrême. Enfin voilà, il y a plein de monde qui sont venus jouer sur l'album et chaque personne est à sa place. Et l'album est vraiment très bien fait. Bien sûr, on ne va pas oublier Vivian Campbell, le vieux partenaire de route de Rob qui était dans Riverdogs. Rob, of course, just few words about you and Vivian, because it's a long story together. So, do you think that was important to have Vivian with you, not only Doug, Greg, Jimmy, and so on, but sharing something with Vivian? It's like old memories, no?
Oh, that's a beautiful way of saying it. That's such a beautiful way of saying it. Yeah, you know, and actually Vivian and I, we were planning to get together. I was going to go stay at his house and we were going to do some writing and recording. And then, you know, with the pandemic and flights got, you know, airports were shut down and all that. So we didn't get together. And then a couple months later, as these songs were developing, I was thinking, oh, it'd be so great to have Vivian sing on this song called Risen. Mm-hmm. And then we thought, oh, it'd be so nice to have him play some guitar, of course. So he's an easy one to ask because we were already talking about, you know, writing and recording together, and we've been friends for so long, and we've always stayed in touch, and I'm sure we'll be friends for the rest of our lives.
Cross finger. Bah oui, voilà. Donc, bien sûr, il y a un petit mot quand même sur Vivian Campbell qui a été le partenaire guitariste dans Riverdogs avec Rob. Et puis, bah, il est venu poser une petite guitare. Et comme le dit Rob, bah, on est tellement copains qu'effectivement, c'est assez facile de la voir. Ils sont copains. Et comme le pense Rob, bah, on espère. Et il espère aussi rester ami avec Vivian bah, toute la vie. Maybe, Rob, some words for the listener, for the French listener. How would you describe the sounds of cross-country drivers? What is the song behind? What to explain the songs, or to explain the sounds? Sorry.
The songs and the sounds.
Yeah.
You know, our starting point was the 70s when James and I had our first conversations when we were just going to maybe write a couple songs. Whoa, something fell. Oh gosh, can I start that over?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, the songs and the sounds, it really, where we're at today really started in my first conversations with James Harper. And we talked about the 70s. We talked about Free and Bad Company, and we talked about the Allman Brothers, talked about some of my favorite songwriters, you know, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Jackson Brown. And then we talked about bands that were influenced by those artists. And we talked about King's X, and we talked about the Archangels, and we talked about Badlands. And so that's where it all started, you know, and then we just let it naturally develop from there.
Ah, vous l'avez compris. Alors, la question, c'était, je me suis un peu emmêlé les pinceaux, les amis, hein, quel était le son, quel était le son derrière ce nouvel album, ce premier album de Cross Country Driver. Alors, c'est un son très 70, vous l'avez compris. Il y a beaucoup de noms de groupes importants. On parlait de Badlands, Johnny Mitchell, on a parlé du son de Bad Company, hein, qui est quand même un très très grand groupe. Et puis, si vous voulez réécouter un petit peu cette approche-là, vous allez le retrouver dans cet album de Cross Country Driver. C'est vraiment un très très bon album. Et effectivement, les chansons sont vraiment très 70. Voilà, c'est cette approche-là qu'on retrouve. C'est un son très gras, très particulier, du vrai classique rock. Rob, I said this is clearly a classic rock album. The sound, the approach, what is behind. It's clearly something with maybe coming in 2023 with the approach of the 70s.
Well, I think that's what we started with. That was our starting point. And, you know, we it's not a tribute to the 70s, but it was, I mean, I'm pretty good at inside my mind going forward in time or back in time or going into another location or someone else's life. That's how I write. And I think most writers are like that. They can really put themselves in other places and other times inside their heads. So that's kind of what this album is. You know, these songs all kind of came from that starting point. Again, you know, it's lyrically and musically, and we experimented a lot, like bands in the 70s did. And just added different instruments because we were in the mood. But then we asked Nick Brophy from Riverdogs to mix and master the album because he's so good and he has that modern approach. And that's how I think how we got it to the point where it combines hopefully that 70s aesthetic with a more modern kind of framework. Maybe.
Voilà, vous l'avez compris, la question c'était est-ce que c'est un album de 2023 qui sonne comme les années 70? Non, c'est pas un tribute ou quelque chose des années 70, comme le dit Rob, hein. Et puis le son a été fait par Profi qui est dans Riverdogs. Et comme le dit Rob, bah, en fait, on a essayé de faire du mélange entre les chansons, la musique. On a essayé de faire beaucoup de choses qui sont proches de ce qu'était la manière de travailler, on va dire, dans les années 70, mais c'est vraiment un son très intéressant. Et puis, il y a plein de bonnes chansons, parce que si vous allez découvrir cet album, moi, je vous conseille par exemple So Fly ou A Man With No Direction. On va en parler de les No Direction avec Rob dans un instant, mais il y a vraiment des très très bonnes chansons. Voilà, il y a aussi Everything Forgiven, qui est une très très belle chanson. Voilà, moi j'ai adoré tout cet album et je pense que vous allez retrouver à travers ce disque quelques titres qui sont vraiment appuyés sur les années 70. Rob, few words about the songwriting process. What is a song? In fact, what is a songwriting process? You speak about idea for music, idea for lyrics. You think that someone can play bass, someone can play drums, someone can sing a song. What is behind this approach? Because we pass a lot of time to create this new one. It's not coming like 6 months ago. It's coming slowly, but you define each approach for each song. So what is behind this? You understand that, okay, this is the lyrics. I have the lyrics. I have to create the guitar, and I have to provide maybe some stuff with bass and drums, or we have a riff, and we come back to say, okay, we have to find someone to help me to write the songs. So what is the process? Because like you said a few seconds, it's look like a lot of different things, a lot of different energy was coming, but at the end, you have to create some songs.
Yes. You know, my approach is what feels good. Like musically, I'm always looking for what just feels good. Doesn't matter if I can analyze it and tell you why it feels good. Like to say, oh, well, it goes from the major fifth to the minor third or something. I don't know about all that. I just know what feels good to me as far as music and rhythm. So my starting point on this album at some point in the first, when we decided we were going to record 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 songs, then I wanted to really have like a concept. And so my concept was that all the songs would tell a story all together. And it's a story of my family. And it's a lot of family history, a lot of family secrets, things I learned after, people in my family were gone, that they had passed away. And so it's kind of my family history told in a artistic way. And, it's not literally my family history, but, so that's it. I find I'm looking for music that feels good. And then I'm looking for some kind of lyrical concept that challenges me. And that's my starting point if I'm going to do a whole album. That's my starting point for that Riverdogs California album. That was my starting point for a record I made with my youngest daughter and my two sons. That was called And the River Reveals Herself. That was 2018. So that's kind of my starting point.
Ben voilà, donc la question c'était, vous l'avez compris, il y a beaucoup de choses qui viennent, il y a les chansons, il y a les titres, il y a la musique, il y a peut-être des acteurs, et voilà, comment travaille Rob et le groupe? Et ben voilà, vous l'avez compris, donc il faut une musique, il faut aussi partager des expériences personnelles, et de tout ça, il faut essayer de remettre, pas l'église au centre du village, mais presque, hein, puisqu'il faut essayer de faire des bons titres. Et comme le dit Rob, c'est la manière dont il voit ça depuis très longtemps, c'est-à-dire que trouver derrière une idée, quelque chose qui va partager, une bonne musique, quelque chose qui va nous faire prendre au tripes, et c'est exactement ce que cherche Rob aujourd'hui. Rob, maybe just few words, because you are, I would like to know if you are a different Rob right now, because you come back on the 80s with a band of the 80s, you move to the 90s, you move to the 20s, now you stopped the music a couple of years ago because we want to share, we have to help some kids and so on and so on. You come back to the music. What is your feeling right now in 2023 after so many things? The 80s was so huge, so crazy. The 90s was the grunge period, and you come back and so on and so on. So you are a big artist, Rob, and now are you at the right place now? You think you have everything with moving slowly, but this is clearly where you want to go years after years?
Wow, you're very you really understand what a journey of of 40 years of a musician's life or an artist's life. That's wonderful that you can put it that way. I never stopped making music. I never stopped writing. I stopped performing, or I slowed down the performing and sometimes the recording or releasing, but I was always writing, always recording, always singing. And then I focused on different things. I was a crisis worker for 5 years. I was the general manager at a recording studio and helped start a school of recording arts. So I've done other things, but they're always creative, and they always. I haven't really had a plan for a music career. I never had a plan for it. I just went with what felt right. And yeah, now things are slower and more meaningful. And I love where I'm at today. I'll be 65 years old in August. And I'm so happy to be where I am today. So thank you for asking. That's lovely.
Ah, bah, vous l'avez compris. Alors, je posais la question à Rob parce que c'est quand même quelqu'un qui a vécu dans les années 80, les amis, qui a fait les 90, voilà, qui est passé en 2000, qui a eu un petit peu, voilà, comme il le dit, il a moins enregistré, moins fait de choses dans les années 2000. Il a quand même plus aidé des groupes. Il a été général manager. Waouh! Voilà, c'est quand même pas rien. Il a aidé beaucoup de groupes. Et puis je voulais savoir s'il était à la bonne place. Et carrément, il dit, bah oui, il a jamais eu de plan de carrière pour aller là où il est aujourd'hui. Mais en tout cas, il a toujours fait tout à fond. Et il est toujours là aujourd'hui à nous partager donc ce nouvel album qui sort, Cross Country Driver, qui sera dans les bacs la semaine prochaine. Et moi, je suis très content une nouvelle fois de partager ce petit moment avec Rob. Rob, I think I have one not easy questions.
Okay.
If you had to choose one album from your entire discography, which one you choose?
You know what? It might be an album that I hadn't listened to for many years. And then somehow it ended up in my car and I listened to it, and it might be my favorite, to look back now and look back at all those albums and all those songs. And it's called Above the Wing is Heaven. Mm-hmm. You might not know of it, but it was a record I made for a small label in Rochester, New York called Grooveyard. And I can't remember how many songs are on it, but it's a beautiful record. There's a song in there that I recorded with oh gosh, I'm blanking. Well, the guitar player's name is Craig Erickson, but we did a Robin Trower song, that feature, that one of my favorite singers, Jimmy Dewar, he had been the original singer on the song, and it's called Roads to Freedom. And then there's also a song in there that I wrote and recorded with Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy.
Wow.
And yeah, and there's some live stuff on there that's really gorgeous. There's a song called I Ride the Waves by a local singer-songwriter here in Southern Ontario. And my friend Jacob Moon and my friend Melissa McClelland and we did a beautiful version of it. And it's just I just love the album so much. I think there's only maybe 9 songs. I can't remember right now, but I think it's my favorite album that I've ever made.
Ah, voilà, vous l'avez compris. On ira chercher le nom de l'album pour vous faire partager cet album-là. Voilà, en tout cas, il y a toujours du très très bon. Donc je vous rappelle, l'album s'appelle Cross Country Driver. Il sera dans les bacs le 17. On est avec Rob. Rob, avant de terminer, une autre question. Rob, before we ending, I have 2 questions right now. The first one is maybe I don't know if it's most complicated, but do you think we can tour a little bit in Europe and some other country with the cross-country drivers in a couple of weeks, a couple of months? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario would be if Frontiers, this awesome label that has, supported this album,
yeah,
if they were having one of their festivals that they do in Europe, and maybe if they asked us to play and then we built some shows around it, I think that's probably the only way it would happen, because otherwise it's too expensive to go down and travel in America or something. It's so expensive. So I imagine if we do any shows, it'll be in Europe. If that happens, yeah.
Normally the Frontiers Festival is come back in October, so cross finger.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was October.
Voilà, donc la question c'est est-ce qu'on aura la chance de revoir Rob et puis de partager les extraits de ce Cross Country Driver. Donc comme il le dit, peut-être avec Frontiers s'il y a la possibilité de venir en Italie, peut-être au Frontiers Festival, on ne sait pas encore. Il y aura peut-être des dates retour. En tout cas, je sais qu'il y a quelques bricoles qui se font un petit peu à droite à gauche pour essayer de faire venir Rob et son groupe et Riverdogs peut-être aussi en même temps. Do you think, one question is coming in my mind, Rob, do you think it's a good idea maybe to have two shows, one with Riverdogs and opening by cross-country driver, maybe? I don't know.
Well, that's even more expensive, you know, like to get everybody, to get Riverdogs together, you know, Vivian's in the northeast part of America, Nick's in Nashville, Mark's in Los Angeles, I'm up here north of Buffalo. We're all so far apart. It's so expensive just to get us together to rehearse, you know, hotels, rehearsal rooms, getting gear together. It sounds great. Yeah, your idea sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
That's an expensive idea.
I can prepare a crowdfunding. Voilà, donc la question c'était est-ce qu'on pourrait avoir un concert Riverdogs / Cross Country Diver, comme le dit Rob, sur le ton de la boutade. Ils sont tous un petit peu partout et c'est très très difficile d'avoir tout le monde en même temps soit à un même lieu. Ça serait très très cher, mais on ne sait jamais, hein, on va croiser les doigts. Peut-être que ça peut arriver quand même. On n'est pas à l'abri d'avoir de bonnes nouvelles. Rob, before we ending again, I would like to say thank you so much for your time this afternoon to speak with you regarding Cross Country Driver, who is coming next week, 17th of March, from Frontiers. Rob, before we ending, do you have some words in French?
I have none. I have French heritage on my father's side, and I don't have any words in French. I'm sorry to say. I grew up in Southern California, so I learned Spanish.
Hola, so, hola, ¿qué tal? Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola.
Hola, hola.
And I'm going to Mexico on March 22nd. I've got a couple performances and a couple of events I'm part of down there. So I'll try and dust off the Spanish while I'm down there. But French, I'll just it won't be good if I attempt that.
Voilà, bon, vous l'avez compris, ça va être compliqué de parler français avec Rob, mais en tout cas, il parlera peut-être espagnol. Voilà, il parle un petit peu espagnol, hein, qu'il a des concerts à Mexico. On va libérer Rob. Rob, thank you so much. The last word is for you. Do you have a quick message for the French listener who is discover maybe you, discover cross country, maybe discover Riverdogs? I don't know. So before we ending, do you have some words?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to thank you for just a really nice conversation. Thank you so much for that. And I've had some discussions about coming to Paris.
Yeah,
so
I know.
That's something that's something that's been discussed, and we're gonna talk more about that. So I hope my next words will be in person. You know, I'll be there, hopefully, maybe playing a show, and I'll get to meet you and meet some of my other friends that I've known in France, all over France, but specifically in Paris. So, hey, my fingers are crossed that's going to happen.
Voilà, vous l'avez compris. Alors, il y aura peut-être des choses à Paris, hein, on ne va pas tout vous dévoiler, mais il y a des petites choses qui sont peut-être en train de se monter. Voilà, comme le dit Rob, Crossfinger, on espéra pouvoir le voir. Et puis, on va écouter, nous, un extrait de ce grand disque tout de suite, maintenant, dans la stride avec le doc.